I was always very entrepreneurial. In high school, I used to buy these watches from Amazon and I would resell them. And then when I got to college, that's when my motivation really took off of I'm capable of anything I put my mind to.
I'm here with Zander Isaacson, the founder and CEO of Xeal. Zander, thanks for joining us.
Of course, thanks for having me.
Give me a 30-second pitch. Who are you and what do you do?
I'm Zander Isaacson. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Xeal. And what Xeal is, we created the first self-reliant protocol, which makes payments, authentication, all of that work without cloud computing or the server, which basically means we just make electric vehicle charging stations work without any dependency on the internet. So no driver gets stranded, building managers never lose money on transactions, and we can accelerate the future with just a reliable charging experience.
Now, you're into the world of electronic EV charging. Make it exciting for me. Let's pull me in.
So when I first joined the industry, I don't belong in the industry. I was working in investment banking and I saw this really cool race that goes on in all these different cities, Tokyo and all throughout South America and Brooklyn. And it's sort of like F1, but it's called Formula E. The E stands for electric. So when I went to this race, I didn't even know what electric vehicles were besides a Tesla and those clunky cars.
Were they racing like Nissan Leafs? What was going on?
No, these look like F1 vehicles.
Okay.
They were lean, they were sharp. I didn't even know that. I had asked someone if these were electric. And then when the race goes off, they're going 200 miles per hour. You don't hear a thing. And the reason why they get these permits in these cities is because there's no noise pollution. Nobody hears it, so it doesn't annoy anybody.
Okay.
And then when I'm sitting there and I'm looking at these vehicles go, humming and going 200 miles per hour, they look like lean, literally normal race cars. One of them hovers over this blue glowing light in the road, and it got a huge power boost that allowed it to accelerate faster than the other vehicles. So when I'm reading all these things, preparing for a research commentary and everything, it made sense. It wasn't just these buzzwords, autonomous and connected and electric all moving together. It was the fact that this is literally a computer on wheels that can do anything. It's the future smartphone with unlimited processing power.
What's the blue thing went over?
Bluetooth connected power vault.
Wow, so it's literally like a
Mario Kart.
It's like a video game. You hit the speed boost.
They literally modeled it after Mario Kart. Yeah.
So that got your mind of okay, this EV thing is
not just vehicles. It's the modern day iPhone times 1,000. It's the idea that it's the same transition from horses to cars as now you're in this spaceship that you don't feel the road at all. You can do unlimited things, and most of these new models, the Hyundai, the Kia, the Ford F-150 Lightning, they have self-driving, they can move their own lanes, and it's exciting.
So what made you go from seeing that moment of seeing the EVs racing to I'm going to be an entrepreneur to this is what I'm going to do? Tell me that evolution.
That goes a little bit back. I was always very entrepreneurial. I think in elementary school I was buying Yu-Gi-Oh cards and putting them in a white little paper, folding it up. In high school, I used to buy these watches from Amazon and I would resell them. And then when I got to college, that's when my motivation really took off of I'm capable of anything I put my mind to. And that kind of came from the wrestling days in high school.
Okay.
And to go a little more back, I was awful at wrestling, the worst. I lost every single match. And there was this quote on the wall, and it was from Dan Gable. And it said, "He who says he can and he who says he can't are both usually right." So I brought that mentality when I got to school. And Penn State is, there's 50,000 students. And I found out about this little fund called the Nitty Line Fund. And it's a student-run hedge fund where they manage real investor capital, no endorsements at all, no endowments at all. It's $13 million now. Mm-hmm. And 10 people get in a semester. And I went for my freshman year. I didn't get in. And then I went for it again my second year, and I got in. And then the next 3 years was just about finance and getting a job on Wall Street.
When you're in that fund, are you supposed to invest in fellow students or alumni? What was?
No, so we operate very similar to a mutual fund.
Okay.
So we have all the different sectors of the S&P. And there's the IT sector, there's the oil and gas sector, there's the energy sector is part of that, the healthcare sector. And you basically manage a real portfolio of funds from alumni investors.
Gotcha. You're sort of managing public money. Public investing from
yes,
endowment. Okay.
Exactly. So I put my head down for 3 years, and then I finally got the job, and I got back to senior year at Penn State when everybody's, not going all out anymore. And I looked into the startup community, and I brought back that childhood passion of mine. And there was not a student-run venture capital fund or an accelerator at the time. So I just made it my passion project my senior year to build this ecosystem of entrepreneurship where we would help students get jobs in VC or startups and help foster the startup community. And that little project turned into a contagious passion of mine where the easy part was starting it. The hard part was recruiting students that all across different schools, like engineering school, and I would go to like blockchain events and hackathons, and I would just like recruit these students. And then one of the events I went to was this, it was a TED Talk at Penn State.
Okay.
It's about 2,000 student auditorium. I go in there by myself, sit in the back row, and this student walks on stage. And I didn't expect there to be a student. And the student goes on stage and he says, "My name is Nikhil Bharadwaj. I'm a 19-year-old Indian immigrant. I moved here with no friends or family with one life mission to solve climate change without bothering people." And he became our head of technology.
That's quite a statement right there.
Yeah, and I was like,
Quite a goal.
I was like, not shoving it down anybody's throat,
Yeah.
making it interesting, objective. So we became really good friends, and he joined my little, club. And then fast forward, when I started investment banking, I was always keeping in touch with the engineers and founders in my network on the weekends, talking through some of their ideas. So it was a mix of seeing this, knowing my buddy on the West Coast was working at Schneider Electric, doing EV charging and all this stuff. And I called him up felt like a little kid again. And I'm like, "What's going on? I see there's 500 new models coming out. They're all supposed to be autonomous driving. This is way bigger than just transportation. This is the future of computing, how we connect with, how we do computing different things. It's a revolution." And that's when I did what any practical person would do. I quit my job a couple weeks later. I moved out to California, and I lived on Nikhil, my co-founder's couch for 6 months, and two naive founders building Xeal.
And tell me what Xeal is like. What did you guys build? What was the mission, and what did you guys create?
Yes, so the mission is, we put our personal values and mission statement into the company so that solving climate change without bothering people was our mission going into it.
Okay.
Being a first-time founder, you don't really know what you're doing. So when we first started, we were just a reservation app, helping cars reserve chargers, and they would do it at times when it was cheap for the building and good for the environment. Tried selling that. Lesson learned. You got to have a product, not a feature.
Gotcha. So it was like an open table for chargers, kind of thing. If you're
Sure, yeah.
If you're
yeah.
playing Mad Libs here.
Yeah, without making any revenue or having a salary or anything like that. So then, I put on the sales hat, never thought I'd do sales in my life. And I'm going out there, I'm talking to these folks, property owners and managers. We sold to commercial real estate and multifamily properties. And they told me they want payments and energy management and access control, being able to get to choose who uses the charger.
Okay.
So like a hotel, I could take your key away and I could charge you for like the candy at a margin. So we had to build a full connected system that works like your Uber app, and you can turn it on, turn it off, and pay for your sessions. So we built that, we put it inside a charging station, and we started selling the charger, the software, and we went to market. And super exciting, we got about 12 different properties right away. We're off to the races. I thought we're finally gonna fundraise and maybe have a salary once again. And that's when all hell broke loose. And that was the moment when the app wouldn't connect to the charger wouldn't connect to this cloud, which we found out later, it's not this imaginary thing above our heads, it's a physical server that sits in the middle of the country. And everybody was getting stranded. I was getting death threat emails because I was the customer success email. "I hope your CEO dies," or "I hope your company goes bankrupt," some other things.
You're getting company threats.
I think they thought they were, talking to a robot.
Okay.
But it was I hope your CEO dies. The company's I'm stranded again. So we realized it's not just a social media app or something like that. These are people's lives, and they're depending on us to get around and do their things. So in 2019, 3 things happened. Our back was against the wall. We didn't have any money. COVID happened. Mm-hmm. So there was this, a little popularity growing with contactless payments. And the second thing that happened was that there was this new concept that instead of sending information to that physical server across the country that we call the cloud, you could send information through devices directly, just like a TV remote.
Okay, yep.
And it was called distributed ledger. Just think of it as just packets of data. So we knew that. And then the third thing that happened was it just became possible to sort of send this through smartphones and smart devices like a charger. So we made it our mission to eliminate the internet, eliminate the cloud, and build a truly self-reliant experience where you go down there, it works 100% of the time, the payments, there's no loss, and a driver is never worrying about their car not working and being stranded again.
Yeah, so you're building chargers, but instead of it ping pong, each one's independent, right? So it can do it all. It can charge, pay, connect without having to connect to a server, like you said, somewhere in the middle of the country. It's its own like vertically integrated system right there.
Yeah.
And that gives you reliability and precision and all that stuff.
Right. It's like the way I like to think about it, because I'm not technical. The technical knowledge I know is from being around very intelligent people. It's sort of like being a kid, where currently today, when you depend on the cloud, if you ask me a question, I would have to go run back to my mom and dad and say, "Do you know the answer to this?" And then run back and tell you the answer. Sort of like that scene in Good Will Hunting when the guy is just plagiarizing the words of someone else from a textbook, and he's like, "Do you have any thoughts of your own?"
Yeah.
But we call these things smart devices, but they're only smart if they have a connection to their mom and dad across the country. So what we've done is we took that brain across the country, the server, and we put it inside all of the devices, not just one of them, so they could all think, act, and process on their own. So the idea behind it is that, yes, it works in underground garages, but it thrives in places that have good connectivity because it's just faster, more reliable, and it always works.
Do you guys make the units yourself, manufacture them yourself, design them yourself?
So we're asset light. We work with different manufacturers, and we essentially make a custom product with them where we put our computer inside of it, either through a digital computing layer, or we put a physical board that acts like a computer.
Cool. How do you make money?
It's a good question. So we focus on the largest real estate institutions in North America. The reason why we went that path is because when all these EV charging companies were selling to the path of least resistance, where there's subsidies and rebates and places that they're welcome, we said if Xeal didn't exist today, what wouldn't exist? And with 40% of Americans living in apartments, we wanted to create that access. So we focused on the real estate market, going to the top owners and operators that own the majority of land. And we sell to them a hardware charging station, which we make a little margin on. And then we have a software subscription that the building manager pays, so they can manage all of this charging sites. They can change the rates. They can make custom access, like the staff might get a discount on charging, while the residents might get this. If someone moves out of the building, they can kick them off so nobody's going back there and using it. So that's the subscription, and then we have a revenue share where think of it as like, they pay $10 for a session, and we'll make a piece of that.
Gotcha.
As well.
So it's a SaaS model, right? So you can make a little money on the hardware. You get that great, recurring revenue for them to use your software, and then if they're being used, the more they're being used, the more you make because you get a piece of that too.
Exactly, and then the last component, which we sell as a software protocol, is our computing layer. That's the thing that makes it work. So a lot of people have this idea that software runs the world, but it's what runs software. And that's the thing you don't see, the computing layer that allows the functions to work. And because we own that, which is similar to Amazon having Amazon Web Services, that part of the value chain is one that makes us unique, where we're the only ones that have that stack, and we're the only ones, so we sell that to the customer as well.
How many employees do you have?
We're a lean team, about 45 to 50. So we have an ops team, engineering team, about 14 all in-house, and then a sales team. But we're not going door to door. We take a very thoughtful, holistic approach. We have a territory team that they work with our real estate partners, and then we also have a kind of thing as like a franchise model where we have channel partners that resell our chargers.
What do you see as obviously you're all in on EV. You're excited about EV. A couple of years ago there was a huge push even from the manufacturers saying we're going to they have all these companies, American, you name it, are going to build electric vehicles. And there's been a big blowback now, and there's a lot of demand has fallen. What do you see right now do you see that as is it hype? Are people being overly negative? What's kind of like right now the snapshot of the
I'm ecstatic.
EV world? Yeah,
I think
obviously you're ecstatic.
No, I'm saying because back in 2019, 2020, there was no press. It was all, and the press that came out, it was just from the clean tech industry. So how are you going to get someone from outside the industry without an objective source and get them to come in for different reasons. I like to think of it as like politics. When it's not an exciting topic unless there's two sides of it. So I think it's great for the industry, but the reality is the EV industry has more EVs selling than they've ever had before. In last year alone, in 2023, there was 1.6 million EVs sold. Fast forward the first 10, it took 10 years to sell the first million EVs in the US. So when you think about that, it took 10 years, and then it took 2 years for the first million, and then it took 1 year for 1.5 last year, and we're still ramping up with all these new models we haven't had before, with the Hyundai Ioniq, which is the cheapest lease in America now, beyond gas cars. It's just kind of nonsense.
What are you focused on? What is the company aiming for in the next year?
Yeah, so we're very grateful for our investors and what it allows us to accomplish. The real things that we're excited about is our partnerships. We have this white glove approach with some of our biggest real estate leaders, and these aren't just groups, checking the ESG box. Like, these are groups that they want to be bold, they want to be a pioneer, and they realize that they are the people that have the keys to accelerating the future. So we believe the rate of the future is not decided by an expert opinion. It's decided by the people that have the market and will feed into the technology that's going to accelerate it. So for us, next year, in the next 18 months, we're looking to expand our real estate partner community. We're looking to expand our channel partners. These are the ones that they're experts in electrical and lighting, and now they're reselling Xeal as their top EV charging choice. And then in the background, on the technology side, we have some really exciting things going on. We're leveraging our core technology, the self-reliant protocol that allows you to do internet-free payments and all that fun stuff. We're going to be working with one of the largest manufacturers to embed it inside their chargers. And then outside that, we have another exciting pilot, which I can't talk too much about, but we're licensing our payment to a completely different vertical. And that's kind of the future of our technology, where EV charging is our first application. We want to accelerate that future. But beyond that, we see any shared smart device, whether that's payment terminals, smart access control, turning it on through the phone, even like Uber, DoorDash. You don't have to you get beer delivered to your home. You don't need to show your license and wait for to load. It just does it right away. And our goal is to accelerate that self-sufficient smart city, where it just uncaps the possibility for smart cities to grow anywhere, regardless of the resources they have.
Outside of charging, what are you excited about in the EV world right now? Everyone's hearing about the next couple of years. I will never buy an EV. I'm always leasing one because, like I said, it's like you're buying a very expensive computer, and the technology. I feel like it's like you're buying the last tube TV before the flat screens come out. I feel like in the next couple of years, there's going to be a huge explosion of technology. Maybe it's like crazy fast charging on the car. Maybe it's extreme, range and that sort of stuff. What's happening right now that you're excited about? And I know there's a lot of rumors, but again, this is not about your company. This is about the
No.
What's going to blow our minds in the next 2 years?
So I think first, the market. When I was reading all those little articles and getting excited about the EV race, what blew my mind wasn't the U.S. manufacturers. It was that this was already happening on a global scale. The Hyundai, the Kias, the
China with
Mercedes, BMW, 15% of their car sales globally, in the U.S. as well, is electric. They're better selling. People are liking these things. So they're flooding the U.S. markets. And while it's great for the U.S.-based manufacturers to be scaling as well, it's going to happen regardless. So when I look at this market, I sort of think of it as like the first BlackBerry, right? And it's like, the naysayers, skeptics, or what do I need to send emails on my phone for? That's just inefficient. Or when the first iPhone came out, right? Everybody, there's long lines and people were excited, but the other side, the laggards, were like, what is this app store? What, am I going to play video games my whole life? They didn't think about the unlimited applications from Uber to DoorDash to Robinhood.
So when's this big adoption going to happen? When's the iPhone moment going to happen?
So I'm saying that unlimited possibility is how I see electric vehicles. They're going to be self-driving. They're going to be, you don't even need to drive. It will park itself. They will be able to, you can even have it go out and do almost like ride sharing and picking people up and then making money on the side. Then it's a resource not just for that aspect, it's a resource for transferring communications. We view telecom as all these different physical towers that communicate. Well, these are all distributed mobile servers where they're now able to communicate in a distributed fashion, which it just leverages the resources in the world instead of just depleting it. And then beyond that, there's just really, really cool things on the energy side where the vehicle itself, when you use like a portable iPhone charger?
Yeah.
Like it basically, gives you energy, discharges energy from that stored thing. And that comes in handy when there's not an outlet nearby.
I have one in my backpack right now.
There you go. So the idea of electric vehicles not being a strain on the grid or utilities, but they'll actually be an asset where if you're plugging in overnight and you already have the full tank, you can now discharge that back to the grid or other vehicles, your neighbor, and things like that. And you build this kind of a distributed marketplace where we're actually able to do more without adding physical, larger resources, but just optimizing the system entirely.
That's bold predictions, my man. I like it. Zander Isaacson, thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.